I think I'm live now. Hello, off the leashers. I wanted to come in and give you this. Actually, it's going to be a whole week of trainings and stuff like this because this is such a huge thing. And I care about you guys the most. So I'm in here with you guys only. And so you don't wreck yourself. So I'm going to help you check yourself before you wreck yourself. My boy Ice Cube had it down because I see this all the time. Hey, Leah. Hey, her. Yeah, it's a day 2 hair. I like it. Thank you. So I've had this conversation about 3 times today with 3 different trainers. And that is exactly what inspired me to get on and do this with you guys. Because I think it's so important. Now, disclaimer, I'm not giving you all the information because that's what my clients pay me for. But the information that I can give you is going to help you out tremendously if you implement this stuff. So it inspired me because like everyone and their mother is wanting to do a virtual dog training now. So I've been doing this for 3 years already, and I've made a shit ton of mistakes. I've done a shit ton of tweaking, and I've also done a lot of streamlining the customer experience, which is where most people have their problem. So, you know, if you thought that dog training in your area was saturated, just wait till you try to get in the online space. It is saturated with free to low cost everything. You know, people can get that information anywhere. So I want to equip and empower you guys with information that's going to help you stand out. And so you're not just another one of the YouTube famous dog trainers that aren't making any money. That's what I want for you. So the online space is like something like, I think the stat for like 2017 was like $255 billion market. Now dog training is a $1 billion market as well, but that nowhere compares to the 200. I think it's 200. You guys can fact check me on that. It's somewhere in their 200 billions area, and that was in 2017. So I have no idea what it is now, and I'm sure it's spiked now. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. But I want to keep these pretty short and sweet for you guys because my goal for you guys is that you get in there and start doing the work and start implementing some of the stuff, whether that's mapping out a whole new strategy of your course, which happens after people talk to me, or maybe reworking some of your course, or just going back to the drawing board with everything. So, like I said, it's been 3 years since I've been doing the online training stuff, and with me doing it for 3 years and then helping other people implement their programs, this is what I found to be the biggest mistake, hands down, that everyone makes at first. And myself was included in this. This was one of my major learning points. So that is, as new adopters to virtual, we want to pretend that it's the same as meeting with people face to face. And that could not be further from the truth. So what we tend to do as dog trainers is we meet with the client for an hour and we just totally brain dump on them. And which part of that is necessary information, but part of that is in the online world, totally unnecessary information. So what happens is you just start creating overwhelm in people, and people just get overwhelmed with the information. And just like dogs, humans don't learn in that state. So you have to be really careful with how much information you're giving them per section, if that's the program that we're going to talk more about the program models themselves tomorrow. But you know, the problem with that is we're not there to know if they're getting overwhelmed, because us dog trainers, if you're good at what you do and you've been doing it for a while, we are so hyper aware of micro movements. So whether that's coming from the dog or the human. And that's part of what makes us so awesome is because we have that sensitivity, and we're able to stop and adjust when we need to. Like, for instance, like if a client like furrows their brow, or a client like looks like, oh, social distancing, a client like maybe like looks out like into outer space, we know that they're processing information, and we can stop the flow of information, because they're not going to take any new information if they're off in like process land. So that is a hurdle that you have to overcome when you're going online. So we have to almost predict, and if you've been doing it for a while, that's why I don't recommend that new trainers start online, because you can't predict these things. You can't predict when people are most likely to get caught up or most likely to get confused. So we have to build that into the program. And if you know your clients well, then it's easy to do. But if you don't, if you're just sitting there brain dumping, giving all the information in the world, you have no way of knowing if it's even seeping in or they're understanding anything you're saying. So if you get nothing out of anything I ever say ever again, it should be this. And if you're a client watching this, then I'm going to sound like a broken record. But it's this, is that over-delivering is just as harmful as under-delivering. Most of the people I work with tend to be over-deliverers, that's a word. And so just in their regular life, like they overgive, they over-deliver. It's just kind of who they are, but that's my clients. So think about putting that information out in a very intentional way, and know where your clients are more likely to get screwed up, so that you can create these. And that kind of brings us to my next point, is the distractions are going to be totally different. If you're used to working with people one-on-one, you can you're steering the conversation. If they get distracted, we get them back on track. If they get distracted, we get them back on track. Well, if they're watching this on their computer, you're now competing with Facebook notifications and text and kids screaming probably and all that. Their dog's probably barking and all that stuff. So what I recommend is building in natural pauses. So sure, like they can pause you, this is the awesome part to an online program, is that clients can pause you, they can rewind you, but they can also fast forward you. So you have to think about that. But the brain literally processes information differently depending on the mode of delivery, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Just like dogs, I mean, they process information differently depending on the environment. Same with humans. That's probably a better way to put it. So it's a lot easier to get distracted when we're not in front of them. So we need to keep these things, these programs or these courses, really short and sweet and focused in on one or two things, max 3, or else you're just going to lose people. And an overwhelmed mind does not come back to learn more because they're just thinking that they're so far behind and all that stuff. So it's harder to hold them accountable to stay in line. So what I recommend is just chunking the info down a little bit differently, so you don't have to compete with those Facebook notifications. They can always go back and re-listen, but it depends on how you also built in the accountability on the other side. Like, are you doing quizzes? Are you requiring videos to be sent back for feedback to make sure that they're doing it right? I mean, that all depends. Like I said, we'll talk more about that tomorrow, but I just wanted to plant that seed of like the distractions are totally different. So this last thing I want to talk about is I hope this is all making sense to you guys. I hope so. If you have questions, I know there's a little bit of a delay always in when we're doing lives. So if you do have questions, I'll come back around if I don't see you come up. But excuse me. That's not the Rona, I promise. This is a mindset shift, and it's very subtle, but it's super, super important that you grasp this. So I want you guys to stop thinking of yourself as information sellers, which is what a lot of dog trainers, they're just selling information. So they're used to selling how-tos and giving free stuff away, which is fine, but that does not, that's just one little sliver of your overall strategy. So keep that in mind. You will never, ever, ever refer to yourself as an information seller. You are now the seller of transformation. So it's a subtle shift, like I said, but it makes a huge impact in how you show up for your clients and how you structure your actual program. If you're just, like, it goes back to the brain dumping, the over delivering, if you're doing that, you're doing people much more of a disservice than anything. If they wanted a how-to video, they'd look on YouTube. So you're the person that's providing a transformation. You're the person getting them from island A to island B in the most efficient way, so they can get the result that they want. They can get the transformation they want. People don't really, a motivating factor to people buying dog training to begin with is not so their dog can walk right. It's more often than not, it's so that they can enjoy their walks with their dogs. So you see, that is totally different than just their dog walking right. They want to be proud of their dog walking down the road. So something else I want to mention here too is, like, don't be, a lot of new people that are going into the online space, they kind of get offended when their completion rate is not 100%, and it shouldn't be. Completion rates typically are very low in online learning, and there's a lot of different reasons for that. There's a lot of different ways that I teach my clients to up the engagement and up the completion, but I'm not going to give you all the info. I mean, you know, I do have bills to pay as well. So they could have also already just solved their problem, so they don't need the rest of the stuff, which, by the way, like, totally debunks the, like, 8-week, we're teaching heel, sit down, stay, come, and blah, blah, blah. Like, some people don't want that. I stopped doing that a long time ago. I stopped requiring, unless it's essential to the dog's transformation, I stopped requiring them to teach something. I'd much rather use that time in practical space than in practicing something they don't need or are never going to use because I said so. So I'd rather have someone implementing slowly and taking the quizzes, sending the videos, doing all that stuff, than just have, like, information gatherers and that finish the program and don't get a transformation. Because it's very important to me that my clients get that. So it's one of the big mistakes I made for my first run around. So anyways, I think that's all I had for you today. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the courses themselves. So there's three different, there's three different, like, course models that I've used. Like, there's a ton of different models that you can use, but there's three in particular that I've had the most success with and that my clients have had the most success with. So if you have questions about that, you can post them in this video, and I will be sure to answer them tomorrow. I'll give you a little more warning tomorrow as well. Today was a little bit like, I was all over the place today. So, lovely tech issues. So, it's been fun. Anyways, I will see. I'm just looking here. Like, it's totally different on my iPad. I'm not used to it. So, I see Leah and Matt and Jenny are on. How can I train my husband like I did my dog? Girl, that's a totally separate video. But did you try, like, throwing a can at him, maybe? Or like a squirt bottle? That should help. But all right, guys, I'm gonna jump off. Like I said, I'll circle back around maybe tomorrow morning because I'm officially off. If not, I'll just keep working all night and all day, and I don't want to do that. So I'll circle back tomorrow, and like I said, I'll give you more warning tomorrow as to when I'll be live, so you can get your question answered live. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna let you go, but just one more checking. It's totally different on my iPad, so sorry if I'm missing your question. I'll come back and answer it, I promise. All right, guys, have a good evening. Bye.